Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what it's been like as a ward manager during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's fair to say it has been challenging. I mean, it's been challenging for everyone, but it's also been really rewarding at the same time. And I just wanted to, maybe someone might come across this video and just find it a bit interesting, so that's why I thought I'd do it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is patients. They're the number one priority because, I mean, it's our job at the end of the day. I need to make sure that they don't feel lonely. So, you know, you have suddenly a hospital that had visitors coming in every day to suddenly visitors not being allowed in. And for a good reason, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you don't want the virus spreading. But it meant that the patients felt really, really lonely. So I went round and made sure that all, as regular as possible, all patients were okay and felt that they were being kept up to date with their medical information and they knew what was going on. But also it's about keeping their relatives informed. So, you know, making calls to relatives, making sure that the relatives were okay and they felt appropriately informed. They knew how their loved one was. And where possible, I brought my iPad in from home so that they could see their relatives virtually. So that really helped as well. Also for maybe the dementia patients. So we had quite a lot of dementia patients in the ward. So it's about keeping them appropriately kind of entertained, because again, they were having relatives and then all of a sudden not. Well, there were sometimes exceptions if the patient did have quite severe dementia, say. But anyway, we used to play music to them, or I played music to them on YouTube. You could just search up like 1940s, 1950s music, and some of the patients would love it. So that was really enjoyable part of COVID. I say enjoyable, but we made the best of a bad situation. That's what it was. So next I wanted to talk about how did I manage staff in the COVID pandemic. That is, so every morning when staff would come on shift, we have a morning huddle, and that's to highlight any safety concerns. But there, I think it's a good check-in point, see how your staff are, see how each member of staff are doing, and you could also tell visibly. I think it's always good to check in on them. Also, when you're just walking around the ward, just making sure that they're okay. And then also when leaving the shift, making sure that all your staff are okay. And if needed, being a good listener, if they had any concerns, because it can be a challenging time for anyone. So making sure you're a good listener, and if they were having problems at home or just feeling lonely, then you could always be the place for them to talk. But I think it's also a good point to mention around managing the shifts, managing the rota, because you did have a few staff shielding. So you needed to think, how did you manage that? How could you, so I had to like ring staff, see if they could come in and pick up these shifts, seeing whether staff could do a little bit extra to kind of help to replace staff that were shielding, because staff that were shielding may have come into contact with someone with COVID. So then that meant that they were off for 2 weeks. Or a few staff had COVID, which meant that, you know, we needed to make sure that's covered. And if needed, I need to do some shifts. So that meant myself adjusting my roster a bit to make sure that I was making sure that the ward was appropriately covered. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the ward itself. So we need to think very carefully about what happens when patients come in. We need to make sure that, you know, doors were appropriately shut. So it's leaving less risk for the COVID-19 virus to spread. We need to think of make sure our hand washing is on top of its game. We need to make sure that we have appropriate stock. So things like gloves, aprons, masks, we need to make sure that that's stocked up appropriately. So making sure that all that's checked in place. We need to make sure even things that you might like forget, like the resus trolley, that needs to be adjusted, because that needs to have, if you're performing CPR on a COVID-19 patient, then you would need to wear a different type of mask, and that's the FFP3 mask. So I try to have, because it all happens so quick, you need to just kind of think on top of your game. So you need to make sure that I had about 5 tops up on there and 5 big large aprons, so that if there was cardiac arrest, you could just suddenly put that on and do it all on quite quick. So, and also making sure that the ward environment was clean, so that less risk for the germs to spread. Making sure that we had hand gel readily available. Also making sure that I'm checking the COVID swabs. I used to check the COVID-19 swabs of the patients every day to make sure we've been having an accurate reading, and therefore I'm aware, me as the manager is aware of what the COVID-19 status is of every patient, therefore I can make it as safe as possible. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, how did I deal with it? How did I deal with it as being the ward manager of the COVID ward? And I think that it's been very important to keep up with exercise. Exercise keeps the mind right, keeps the mind focused, keeps it in place. So try to make sure I did a 20-minute run pretty much daily. I also did a few of the Joe Wicks during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure some of you may be familiar with that. And active, I can't express enough, being active really keeps your mind on top of its game. Also catching up with friends and family, virtually of course, via FaceTime or WhatsApp calls, making sure you're still getting that social interaction so you're not feeling lonely. Really making sure your mind's okay. If your mind's okay, everything else will flow. And yeah, that's it really, just keeping that healthy mind. So in conclusion, it's been challenging. I mean, it's been challenging for everyone across the world, but there have been points where it has been rewarding. And I think I'm happy that we can see a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's really nice knowing that, and knowing that, you know, we've helped people throughout the pandemic. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you like it, give it a like down below and give a comment if you have any questions. Thank you.